In this video we'll work on Ruth chapter 3 verses 10 and 11. Generated text is identical. Kind. I don't think we'll need this rule. Generated text is identical. But you are very kind now. You are. But you're being very kind now. We need being here. Okay, target aspect is imperfective. So you are being very kind now. So for our spell out rule for the verb to be, okay, so right now we have a past tense layer and a present tense layer. But for certain aspects, instead of one of these, we need the participle being. Let's add a new layer. And inceptive, John is being kind. John finished being kind. John stopped being kind. John continued being kind. John is being kind. Habitual, we don't really use habitual anymore. Okay, gnomic, we don't need a participle. Okay, so for these five, we need a participle. Being. And to enter a comment for the cell, I'm going to right click, and now the cursor's here. Now I can say insert the comment, and now enter. And now we see that comment. Okay. Generated text is identical. Generated text is identical. Search. People searched, okay, Esther 2:2. People searched for a woman for the king. Genesis 44:12. The servant searched for the cup in the bags. So there is an optional destination noun phrase. It includes its preposition, so we don't need to add one. Okay, so the patient takes 4. Okay. So what's called the patient is an oblique in English. Searched for the cup. Destination will be oblique 2. Beneficiary will be oblique 3 with 4. We can get rid of some of this. Okay, pour. I don't think we'll need this. Generated text is identical. That's the last sentence. Generated text is identical. Let's save it. My daughter won't be afraid. My daughter don't be afraid. Okay. This was inserted by layer 8, or layer for to be. Okay, so we need another row in that layer. Layer 8 is the verb to be. Let's copy this row. And actually all imperatives are future, so we don't need that. So negative imperative. So this is an imperative. And all imperatives are future, so it doesn't hurt to leave future. We'll go ahead and leave it. Okay, don't. Don't be, so we want the stem. My daughter, don't be afraid. Generated text is identical. I'll do all of the things that you ask me to do for you. I'll do for you all of the things that you ask me to do. Okay. Here is an object noun phrase. It's heavy. It includes a relative clause. Right here. This object noun phrase includes this relative clause. And in general, languages tend to put the heavy constituents later in the clause. We've seen this in several verses. We've had a heavy object with an indirect object. But we need to make that more generic. We need to, now we have an oblique. This is an oblique 3 with a heavy object. So let's add a feature to noun phrases, first of all, to indicate whether they're heavy or not. So let's say feature set, noun phrases. Okay, we take the last pair. We at all the word, if we need more features for noun phrases, we will use these. So we'll work in this direction. You should use the last ones. So we'll start with spare 6. Okay, edit features name. Let's say includes a relative clause. Okay. No. And yes. Those are the possible values. Okay. Okay, when we define a feature, we need to initialize it. And there's a special place for that. Initialize all contextual features. So this will be for noun phrases. Okay. In this structure, so this noun phrase includes a relative clause, so we'll say yes. But we need another structure before this one that will apply to all noun phrases, and it will set this to no, includes a relative clause no. But after executing this layer, we want to continue applying this, after applying this output structure, continue searching previous input structures. Okay. Okay, let's make sure that worked. Don't change anything. All we've done is set a feature so far. Okay. Includes a relative clause, yes. This noun phrase includes a relative clause, no. This noun phrase includes a relative clause, no. Okay, so now that we know we have a heavy object noun phrase, we need to position that in the phrase structure rule for clauses. Okay, so here's our main clause, here's our object noun phrase. Okay, we want these heavy constituents to go before these other subordinate clauses. So let's insert a new group after this group. Let's insert a new group. Okay. Heavy arguments and obliques. And we want to position this Okay, we want to position this group after this group. So there it is, after main clause obliques. Now in here, we'll insert a new constituent, which will be an object noun phrase that's heavy. Okay, so we have this heavy object noun phrase. Now up here we need to make sure that our light object noun phrase, that this doesn't apply to a heavy noun phrase, a heavy object. So we'll say no. I'll do for you all of the things that you asked me to do. Gender text is identical. We could, while we're here, okay, we know that we will need other heavy constituents in this group, but we don't have examples for them now. A heavy state. We could add others now, but let's not, because we don't have examples for them. Right now this satisfies what we need, so we'll leave this alone. Good. I don't think we'll need this rule. Okay, generated text is identical. That's the last sentence. Generated text is identical. Let's save it. And it's about time for us to regenerate all of our text again. So let's go here up through 311. Okay, and I'll time-lapse this. Okay, so we have some issues here. Let's look at this last one. But don't let Boaz see you. He'll eat and drink. That's perfectly fine. Up here, we didn't notice that contraction before, but later we did. So we can just save this one. So right-click and say replace the saved text for this verse with a new text and remove this verse from the list with differences. Okay, let's look at some of these others. John have to walk, John will have to walk. Okay, we talked about removing will for have to. So it's fine not to have the word will, but when we do this, now we need a third singular version. John has to walk, so let's work on this one. Display this verse in the lexicon and grammar development screen. Okay, layer 3, row 21, future must obligation. Layer 3, row 21. Okay, future must obligation. Have to, and that's fine, but now we need a third singular version. So let's copy this row. It sounds strange to say third singular future. Normally when we talk about third singular, we're talking about something in the present, but that's okay. Okay. Third singular. We're going to say our new version is John has to walk. So now we're slightly different than the Word document. Okay, third singular future. John has to walk. John has to walk. And we're different from the Word document, but that's fine. Let's save this. Okay, we can remove this one now. Remove this reference from the list with differences. Okay, what's going on here? Okay, we have this, this argument is emphasized. So we created this cleft construction, and we have this object now. Oh, includes a relative clause is unspecified. So this was inserted at the end by the phrase structure rule of clauses generic rule 1. So we need to specify that this noun phrase, this object noun phrase, it does include a relative clause. So this was inserted by structural adjustment rule, rule number 2. Okay. So we're inserting this noun phrase, and this is being done after. Remember, the initialization was done up here. Here, let's. Here, I want to show you. Not there. Okay. The initialization is done here, and this cleft construction, I think it's done in here. Yeah, create a cleft construction. So this rule is being executed after this one. So we need to go ahead and specify that this object noun phrase does include a relative clause. Okay, it was John who read that book. Generated text is identical. And just to check, we can regenerate it here. Generated text. Regenerated text is identical to the saved text. Okay, let's remove this one. Okay, the Lord is kind to living people. The Lord being kind. The Lord is being. Okay, aspect here is continuative. I didn't know that. Okay, this isn't just saying the Lord is kind to living people and dead people. The Lord continues being kind. This is continuative aspect. I didn't notice that before, and it slipped past the MTT. By the way, I'm the MTT, so it slipped past me. So let's fix this. So we need continues. The Lord continues being kind. When aspect is continuative, so target aspect is continuative, and choosing a participle is fine. Okay, so we need in here, remember we have a layer for the verb to be. Let's add a row. Okay, our example isn't accurate. The Lord continues being kind to living people and dead people. Okay. So we want the participle. The Lord continues being kind to living people and dead people. So that's proper. I'm not going to update the Word document because then the video for this section becomes invalid. But now this is proper. So let's do the entire verse. Okay, the Lord continues being kind to living people and dead people. Let's save it. So now our saved version is up here, and we can remove this reference now. Okay, I'm going to regenerate everything, not in this video, but I would highly recommend that you again regenerate all of our text just to make sure there aren't any issues.